Collective Creative Initiative Drinking Bailey Harris Kelly is on, providing equal opportunity despite economic circumstance. The time is, yes, it's just hit 5 o'clock, and what a day we've had so far. Industry Q&As with Joe and Will from the Home Mill Theatre, Directing Insights with Sarah Esdale, There's Still Technique with Jamie Reed, Aladdin Tap Masterclasses with Albie Brooks, and now, to finish the day oh so perfectly, is a candid Q&A with Melissa Jacques, a significant figure within this industry and within the West End. If you would like to ask any questions for Melissa during the next hour, please do subscribe and comment on the live feed below. Subscribers, just a quick reminder again, you have 12 months free access to Backstage. Subscribe now for access. Enough from me. You must be bored by my voice, for goodness sake. It's only Thursday. So let's delve into the career of Melissa Jacques. Hello, Melissa.
Hi. Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you. I'm doing all right. Just delving in then, because I know we don't have a lot of time. Before we went live, we were talking about how you were feeling in the current climate and how you were feeling, especially today on this Corona coaster. Is it okay if you can just with people of how you're feeling today and how you've been dealing with the current climate?
Yeah. I think anyone in any industry has ups and downs days through the whole pandemic, through the whole lockdown. Everyone said, oh, it's okay, have some good days and some bad days. And it's been absolutely the same for me. And there's been glimmers of hope. We were at a desperate place when we were trying to find out if we were going to get the money was going to come from the government and why nobody was talking about theatre. And then a couple of weeks ago, the 1.5 billion from the DCMS, we're like, okay, so there's money there, so we can, so that was kind of an up. And then had this sort of like positivity of sort of thinking that we're going to get back in the autumn. And then I don't know, this past week with the awful announcements on Twitter that Book of Mormon and Dear Evan Hansen won't come back until next year, just this week had this sort of feeling. And I'm not saying that that is what is going to happen to the rest of the shows, and my show in particular. But I don't know, it's just left me feeling today, I feel really sad. I feel sad for the industry. But on the flip side of that, there's been the brilliant pilot scheme concert today at the Palladium that Andrew Lloyd Webber has masterfully put together. With his equipment from South Korea, checking people's temperature as they go in, Beverly Knight giving this concert, and it was free. I didn't know it was free. I kept seeing people tweet their things and saying, oh, I'm in, and I was like, why are there zeros there? I didn't know it was free, because if I knew it was free, I'd have gone to see that legend sing in my face. And I just watched his speech, and just so many people that I know that have been there and have been so emotional to be back in the theatre, and I can't stop the tears a little bit today, because I just think, unless you're in it, unless you experience what we experience, you just can't describe how we love it so much. And I've been tearful, and I'm trying to explain to my husband and the kids sort of like, but
it's so hard, isn't it?
It's really difficult to explain how it's our purpose and it's what we're meant to do, and for it to just be taken away from you. And it's the same when you're not working. You're plodding along and you're auditioning and you're striving to get that job all the time. And in the meantime, you'll do whatever job you can to get you on, to pay the bills. But it's just that thing. It's that performance. It's performing. And I'm doing an online singing course at the moment with the guy that I usually see is doing these brilliant courses for 6 weeks. So it's just been something to keep checking in, and every week somebody sings. I'm a hot mess. It's my turn next week, and I actually don't know if I'm going to get through it without crying, because I'm just so emotional about the industry and what is happening. And another thing is, I feel like everyone's getting back to work, and we are not. Yeah. And I definitely think we will be the last
ones.
Yeah, I heard somebody call into a radio show yesterday and said, well, it's all getting back to normal now, everyone's back to work. And I nearly put my fist through the Alexa. I was like, no, we're not back. So that's my day to day. How it's up and down, because I feel sad, but yet Andrew Lloyd Webber's really going full out today with trying to get people to come back, and in his speech he said, we need a date. We need a date when we can get back, when we don't have to social distance, or houses can't play to 20%. And that's what some houses will be if they have to social distance. You know, in his speech, he said musicals have to play to 60 to 70% to break even. Plays maybe a little bit less. So we just need that date to know. And also the Panto deadline, I think, is August 1st. And they need to know on that day if they can go ahead. And that saddens me massively, because it's the regional theatres that will suffer, because that's their big income for the year. And they need that festive production. And my hometown is Sheffield, obviously, mighty theatres like the Crucible and the Lyceum. And they posted the other day that they won't be doing their festive season, and they will open in February. So again, you have these glimmers of hope, and then you see an announcement like that, and you're just like, oh, I feel like we get close, and then it comes back again, you know?
When facing waves, this is even like without lockdown in premise, when you do find those moments of difficulty, you face those challenges, do you look for a particular someone, a text, a film, something that really just uplifts you, or do you do something that tries to help relieve some stress?
Relieving the stress at the moment, I'm running, which is lol for a lot of people, because I don't run, but I have done the Couch 5K, and that's tried to keep me going and get me out of the house and keep my mind activated on something else. But in times in the past where jobs haven't gone your way or you're not working, I always think back to the jobs that you have done and the jobs that you've done successfully and the great feedback that you've had in the past. And I think you get to a point where you know you can do it, and it gets to a point where it's just not your job this time. So I don't know whether being a parent may be a lot more confident as well, because sometimes I think, listen, I can do this. I've got 2 small children. I've given birth. I can do this. That gave me a massive spurt. I know it did, for nerves and things like that. But I have to. I've been in the business a long time now to sort of think, move on. This soon shall pass. You know, you're in a moment, and you know that the moment's not going to last forever. And I saw a beautiful quote today. It was from the beautiful book that everyone's reading, and I should be reading. And I can't remember the name of it now, but it said something about there was a big grey cloud, and it said, but look at the big grey cloud, and it said, yeah, but behind it the sky is blue, and that never changes. So I guess, you know, this is happening at the moment, and I know it will pass, and I know theatre will come back, and imagine what it will be like when it comes back. You know, I remember tweeting, looking back on some of my posts and stuff on like the 17th of March, which was the day after we went dark, and I posted a picture of the company, and it's like, we will be back, and when we're back, it will be, can you imagine what it will be like those first nights of going back into theatre? And I know it will happen, it's just at the moment, it's the when.
Exactly. There'll be more of, talking about this earlier actually with Sarah Esdale, there'll be perhaps more of an appreciation for all of the theatres as well, because everyone's turning to the arts, even though we are the last buggers to, you know, be considered for everything. Everyone is looking to the books, is the TV series. So do you think we'll have a larger audience when we do go back to a sense of?
I think so. I think you know, I read something the other day about international travel and how the West End may suffer if there's not international travel coming over. But I don't know whether, I know that we do a lot of the big shows, you know, sort of the big Cam Max and Lion King and stuff like that. I know people will travel, but with smaller shows, and especially with everybody's talking about Jamie, it's the kids sitting at home that sing along and record themselves to singing some of the songs from the show, and who come and queue in the morning to get a front row seat for 20 quid. It's those that will be itching to get back. And I think we underestimate how people around us do go to the theatre. I was surprised the other day to see an old colleague of mine that I worked in a normal job with, and she posted a picture of her coming out of the theatre in the cold. She went, I cannot wait for us to get back to the theatre day. She doesn't work in theatre, but she can't wait to get back to having those weekends and those treats that we, you know, people treat themselves, oh, we've booked, we can't wait, you know. I think, and everyone talked, when we first went into lockdown, everyone's like, look at the war, you know, everybody needed lifting up and everything. I mean, during the war, theatre didn't get closed down. People still went to the theatre. So I do know people will want to step away from Netflix and Amazon Prime and come and see some live theatre.
All right. Just very, very quickly before I ask the next question, because I see people, more people are coming in. If you've just tuned in and you want to ask Melissa a question, please, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe and leave comments, questions in the feed below. But whilst you're talking about, everybody's talking about Jamie working on that show, how has that been? Because you're talking about the kids queuing up and there's that feeling, but the whole show is about the human relationships, and what is it like having that dynamic?
It's wonderful because it's so diverse, it's so inclusive, and it's a necessary story for today as well. You know, Billy Elliot was one of those shows where it was like, yeah, it's a young boy and he wants to dance, you know, and it's sort of that, those kind of shows broke them all. And Jamie starts off, it's not a coming out story by any means. It's like first, in fact, it's like the third line of the show. Yeah, I'm gay, whatever, ha ha. That's not what we're talking about. It's the fact that he wants to go to the prom in a dress and he wants to, you know, there was been some beautiful messages. I remember a girl taking a photograph of herself in front of Heba El Sheikh, who plays Pretty, and so it was a cast photograph of Pretty in a hijab and her school uniform, and this girl in her hijab taking a selfie of her phone. She said, "I've seen myself on stage in a musical today, and I never thought that would happen." It's things like that. People, you know, young lads come to stage door and they've got a Jamie jacket on and they've got a lash on and they've fully done their face and they're with their mum, and he's come because he can come dressed like that, because that's how he wants to dress. So he can come to Jamie and he can sit in the audience and be completely accepted. It's, you know, not to quote the show, but it's a place where we belong, and there is a place for everybody. And I think it's so welcoming of everybody to come to the theatre and sit and watch themselves on stage that they probably never thought that they would be represented in a musical. And it gives people hope as well to just think, yeah, I'm gonna wear a dress, or I'm gonna do this, or, you know, it's such a positive and a necessary story for today.
Exactly. And I think with everything else is going on in the world at the moment, without getting political, etc., is that show, perhaps we need more shows like Jamie, because a lot of the problems that are going on is that things aren't built from the foundations up sometimes, and that's why people have perhaps lack of opportunity and they don't know where they belong as such. So yeah, maybe that's the way of moving. And
I think when we do get back, it will be just such a release for people to come to such a show that is so funny. You know, these are, you know, and it's set in my hometown, so I know this humor and I know these people, and they are real people. You know, we are playing real people, and I think that's what I think people see themselves in the show, and it will just be such a relief, I think, for people to come back and just be entertained and have a laugh and just enjoy and escape. And I think it's the same for any show. People will go to any show and just be able to escape for a few hours from losing their jobs or having somebody that suffered from the virus, you know, during this time. So we just need to get back.
We've just got a quick question that's just come in. Thank you. It says here, have you found that your process for preparing to do a show each night changed a lot from your time understudy? You beat me to it. You beat me to it with that question. Understanding Margaret to playing it 8 times a week.
For sure. Standing by is hard because I mean, it's easy in the fact that you're just hanging out and waiting for either somebody to be on holiday or somebody to be sick or whatever. But you've also got 3. I was, you know, if you had stand by Jamie for the female roles, you've got 3 roles going on in your head. So that can, especially Margaret and Ray, can kind of cross over a little bit because the dialogue is the same conversation. So, but playing her 8 times a week, it was, it's you know, it's a hard week. And I've got 2 children, and you know, school runs and a household to run, and but it was easier in the way that I go to work every night and I know what I'm doing. Whereas some weeks I've played all 3 in 1 week. So, you know, your head's everywhere, and also vocally as well. It's muscle memory and stamina, and so being able to build up the stamina, and also just to be able to work on it. That was another thing that I was sad about when we first went into lockdown. We first went dark back in March, is that I only took over in September, so it's kind of only been my kind of gig for like 5 months, and I was just like, please don't take that away from me yet, because it's taken me a long time to have a role in my own right in the West End, and I was having the most wonderful time, and I will have the most wonderful time again when I go back. But preparing, being a standby, and also being a standby and understudying a role, every time you do it, you might do it so sporadically that you just don't keep. You might nail a note one show, and then the next note, and then you won't do it for 2 weeks or a month or something. So you might have, that will have slipped by then. But doing it all the time, I was able to find more things, dig deeper. And I also, another lockdown a thing that's happened is I realised how much I needed that show as a release as well. You know, when you sort of, I realised that, gosh, when I'm having a stressful day with the children or something, I know that I can go to work and I have these 2 incredible songs. It's cathartic. You know, I have this performance of this mum, you know, who by the end of it is on her knees. I'm able to use all that, which is amazing. And also it made me realise that that's my purpose. I know my purpose is to be a parent and to guide these 2 young ladies into the world. But I also realised that is what I'm meant to do as well. So not having that every night at first was a bit of a shock. I thought, what do I do with all this? What do I do with all these emotions? I better go and have a sing, which I haven't really done much, actually. I haven't sung as much as I thought I might do in lockdown.
Yeah, it's quite strange, isn't it? Just seeing how, because it's that effect. Like earlier, talking to Jamie Reed and in his voice class, and he was talking about that he didn't sing for 12 weeks, first 12 weeks of lockdown, because you just couldn't, like, all our voices were gone, weren't they? Taken away.
Yeah. Yesterday I was having a voice lesson online, and we were sort of doing an exercise or something. I remember thinking, gosh, I'm so free. My voice is so free because I'm so rested, because I'm not. Yeah, I thought, crikey, I should crack out something that I never thought I could sing right now, because I might find myself singing it. But you're also so aware. This is another thing about not singing at home. You're so aware that everyone's at home. I mean, not so much now. Everyone's kind of going back to work. But, you know, I live in terraced houses. There's an elderly lady next to me that way. There's a couple this way. And I don't want to disturb anybody. You're not even singing too loudly. The windows are open. It's summer. Anyway.
Yeah, we've had it down here, being told off by the neighbours with playing with the sisters and the brother and the dog. Be quiet. Anyways, I'm thinking about like vocal health, vocal hygiene for you when you were doing that show for 8 times a week. What did you do to keep yourself in check? Because you said you've always been able to check in with yourself, but what do you do to really make sure you don't tie your instrument completely, ruin it to the ground?
Sleep, hydration, and just not doing anything silly with your voice. You know, you can drink as my particular coach, you know, you can drink as many teas and suck as many lozenges as you like, but they are not getting to the part of your voice that you need to look after. You know, drinking tea is good. It's keeping you hydrated, and having a lozenge is keeping you moist and stuff. But getting enough sleep and keeping hydrated and just having good vocal technique and good vocal health, really. There will be times where we get extremely tired. I'm so sorry, there's a motorbike outside. It's been a bit noisy. It's going. I just didn't want to get up and close the window. But something I never ever thought I would do would be sleep in between shows. I never thought that I'd be able to do that. I remember being on tour way back with Barbara Dixon, and she was the lead in the role that the lead role in the show that I was in. And I remember seeing her putting her bed out in her dressing room on tour somewhere. And I said, having a sleep, Barbara? Because she had a big sing. She's like, oh yeah. She says, I'll never get through the next one if I don't have a little kip. You know, on a 2-show day, back to back. And I remember thinking, oh, my voice would be in my boots, I think, if I did that. However, I've really noticed that I keep quiet in between, and I have a kip, and I have a rest, and then I sort of reset during the half. And also, because I'm up early with school runs and stuff, there's a lot of time, especially on a Thursday was my I do nothing day. So after 2 shows on a Wednesday, I take the girls to school on Thursday morning, come home and either get back in bed or get on the sofa. I do nothing. You know, you have to rest, because your day of work starts at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock when you get on the train and do all the walking through town and the 3-hour show and then traveling home. So I would find that I'd get myself busy all day doing all sorts of stuff and then be exhausted. So I try and keep it to a minimum in the daytime is what I do, and definitely have a little kip, a little snooze, because I know I need my energy for the evening. Steaming. If we get tired, I have steam, you know.
A bit of steaming. Thinking about the school runs, about Jamie, about going to school, training. It must be said, whilst we're on here, you trained with James. So, lovely James. So for you, for the graduates that are listening right now, how was your whole drama school experience?
It was pretty special, because it was the very first year. I'm not going to give away, James and I, how old we are, but it was the very first year of LSMT, which was this new school starting out in a rehearsal room upstairs in the Old Vic. And now it has its own building, and it has 25 years worth of students that have come through those doors that have gone on to brilliant things. But because we were the babies and it was the first year, it felt really special. And Glenn Lee, who's the founder of the course, always set out his idea to run it like you're in a company. So you sort of, it's like your week was kind of like a week's rehearsals where, you know, and we were in the theatre, so it made it feel even more like we were going to work, you know what I mean? It was upstairs in the Old Vic, all these amazing people coming in stage door, and that's how we walked into the theatre, through the stage door to college every day. It was just really, we just had amazing practitioners that were working in the industry coming in and teaching us. And it was set, we had an amazing dance coach, tutor, teacher, and then brilliant. And then we'd have an acting morning, and then every afternoon was dedicated to singing. And we learn about theatre history, you know, knowing everything. You know, a lot of times now I'm in dressing rooms, or I've been in shows with a lot of young people. That's because I'm old now, obviously. I keep saying that. I mean, I work with a lot of young people. It's because I'm the oldest person in the building. That's why I work with a lot of young people. And I sort of try and ask them about, or they'll ask a song and they're like, oh, I don't know that. And I'm like, you got to know your Rodgers and Hammersteins, guys. You got to know your Gershwins, you know. And I know that, and the Sondheims, like we'd have weeks and weeks of Sondheim shoved down our throat, but bring it on. So I learned a lot of knowledge about theatre history there as well. fantastic, came out with an amazing portfolio of songs, and we just had really lovely opportunities. We had an original musical written for us for our graduation performance at the Bridewell, which is another beautiful space. You know, it was really special and felt quite close to the business. I didn't feel like we were in a big establishment where we might get lost, and it was only a year's course as well. So we felt quite attached to the industry and to new writing. Always, we had Charles Miller was our head of musical theatre, and he was always writing for you. You know, I had a song written for me at college that I still sing to this day. So it was a special time.
Yeah, I'm going to just hold the question that I have, because I just see that we've got another question from sorry if I get the pronunciation wrong. Nayara. Lovely to see you again here at the Creative Initiative, because I know you've been here throughout the day. This was talked about to another practitioner today. But what advice would you give to your younger self when you were if you were starting out now?
Confidence, hands down. Have more confidence, have more belief, have more balls. It's typical of our performance class. We had a performance class every Friday. So you would work through the week towards Fridays. You would get up and perform your song in front of the whole class and whoever was the guest practitioner that day. And we would be critiqued on it and work on it, or said, that's not good for you, or whatever. And a lot of time I'd get a lot of lovely things said to me, and I just couldn't deal with it. I would much prefer if they said, yeah, that's not for you. Or I would much prefer it. I was easier to handle the negatives than it was to handle the praise. And so I see people now coming out of college with so much more confidence than I had when I first started out. And I just think, would it have taken me as long to get a West End job? I didn't work in town for about 4 years. I worked straight away in pantos and summer seasons and regional theatres, but I didn't work in town for about 4 years. That's probably got to do with my playing age and my type and everything. But I don't know. I wish I'd had the courage and the confidence of walking in rooms like I do now, and I feel a bit like, give me the job. I'm the right person for this job, which is, I would still get nervous, yeah. But that would definitely be something, a lot more confidence and a lot more self-belief.
Do you have a checklist of shows that you want to go towards? At the moment, you're in an amazing show, but have you got your eye on particular other shows that you'd like to get involved in, or is it really just being rooted in that present, or looking to the future, or is it a combination of the both, or what really works for you?
I don't know. I think there are dream roles. I don't think the dream roles are definitely not around at the moment. So unless somebody wants to produce The Brothers again, or bring Billy Elliot back, you know, Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Wilkinson, all these wonderful, those are the roles, those are the dream roles for me. Sondheim, I adore Sondheim, so any sniff of a Sondheim happening, and I'm you know, I want in. I don't think there's a show in town at the moment. This is sounds a bit cheesy, but I've been asked before, and I have this thing that on a Saturday night when I'm singing He's My Boy, when I used to, but we will be back. I used to have this feeling on a Saturday night singing towards the end, the really, really big bit, and you're looking up to the audience, and I used to think to myself, I don't think anybody else has got it better than I have right now, because it's such an amazing song for a woman in musical theatre right now, for a woman of a certain age, if you like. It's not it's not a young person's song. I don't know. I just think it's got to be. I know Donna's singing When It Takes It All Down the Road, and somebody's singing On My Own across the way there. But I just have this feeling. I just think it's such an incredible song at the moment. And on a Saturday night, I think, yeah, I've got it good right now. I defo think I'm in the best place right now out of anybody in working in theatre. That's just a personal thing. But so yeah, I'm very much in the moment with Margaret, and I'm nowhere near done playing her yet. But there are dream roles, but there's nothing that happening now that I think that I would rather be doing than playing Margaret and everybody's talking about Jamie.
In the same vein with that, what's the sensation of doing the first read of Jamie, or doing the first audition and then seeing yourself on that stage, just taking yourself out and looking through the lens of an audience member, or just seeing yourself do it?
I remember when it was happening, and it was happening at the Crucible, and I've such a love for the Crucible. I worked there as a kid and as an amateur, but I've never worked there as a professional, which has to change because I would love to go home and work at home. But I love everything they produce. They do some incredible work. And I was in Kinky Boots at the time when Jamie was happening. And I had auditioned before for the workshop and had this really exciting sit down with the director and creator, Jonathan Buttrell. We have a connection. He's from Sheffield. We know people, and he was just explaining the script to me, and he's like, this is where he lives, you know where I mean? And I'm like, yeah, I know what you mean. And because I know on the page these places that they're talking about, this yard of a house and a row of flats, you know, I just know what he was talking about. So that was really exciting. But then I wasn't available, I wasn't around when it went into production at the Crucible. But I just remember thinking how magic that that's happening. And it was a really short run. And I remember thinking it was so exciting that Dan Gillespie Sells from The Feeling was writing the music, because it was just so current, and that's what Jonathan has said, it needed to be a pop score because this is about kids set in a school, so it has to be pop, you know. So I just remember that being really cool, and I was at Kinky Boots watching it from afar, and then it got its transfer, and I was like, this is amazing. And it was quick as well, a quick transfer really from a regional theatre to a West End, you know, to the West End was quicker than any kind of process usually happens. And then I remember sort of thinking to myself, I really hope it sticks around, because I would love to be a part of it at some point. But it was set up, that was it. I was doing my job. And then I left Kinky Boots at the end of my contract, and I was all planning on having some time out because I've been working quite solidly for a long time since the girls were very small. And about 3 weeks later, I had a call to go in and audition for, they needed a standby because Rebecca McGuinness was taking over the role of Margaret that Josie Walker had been playing originally, who was incredible. And so amazing, how amazing that they're able to give the role to the person that was understudying, you know, this is, and then that happened to me. That's another wonderful thing that's happening there at Jamie, that they are, you know, they're doing this. It's, you know, it happens at Wicked sometimes. Standbys going on to play the roles. So that's another wonderful thing that that's happening there. And I went into audition, and it was the whole team, and it was very sort of friendly, and we were in the bar, and I was introduced to Nika Byrne. I was like, oh my gosh, she owns half the West End. And this is Donna Gillespie Sells, and they think, oh, I have to sing the song for the writer in the room. Pressure's on. And just had this really lovely sit down and this lovely read, and that was it. And I was having time off, and I'd really said that to myself, but I had to do that job. I had to, and I'd also said to myself that I wasn't going to understudy again, because having kids and understudy, there's a lot of rehearsals involved, and there was a point in my life where I really wanted to move on. I'd had a lovely little role at Kinky Boots, and I was like, no, I need to keep up with this now. I need to keep going and not go and understudy again, mainly for the work, and the brain is not what it was. But I had to be a part of that show, and 2 years later, I'm still there.
Guys, quickly, because I'm seeing more people are tuning in. We're halfway at the moment. We've got about 26 minutes left. If you want to ask Melissa a question, I'm loving it. I'm very greedy. I'm a greedy git, but come on, you here at the CCI. So if you'd like to ask a question to Melissa Jacques, please subscribe if you haven't already, and put it in the comments box below. But Melissa, thinking about, obviously you know the area from the script of Jamie, you're able to quickly tap in and have those images already there for shows where you have to really build on that character and go the lengths to research other different areas that character inhabits. How do you, what do you do to really help you find those images that will help you connect to the songs or the scenes?
Research. I'm as soon as I know that a show is happening or there's a possibility that it might be seen or I get an audition through, I'm straight on the internet and I want to know who wrote it, how long's it been around, where, if it's set in a certain place, look at this place where it is. I'm quite nerdy like that when it comes to sort of theatre, and I like to know about the process. And I remember sort of right back in the day when I was in the original cast of Mamma Mia, and we were Greek taverna people working on the island, you know, sort of going through that process and sort of being a swing as well. So knowing that one day I might be the lady that's sweeping up the stairs, or I might be this lady. But it's not enough to just come on and do that. You know, you've got to make your own job worthwhile as well. So it's fun to have. It's really good to have a backstory when you're in the ensemble. You don't have a story to tell as much as you come to the front and have a big soliloquy, but you're still telling the story to build the show. So having a backstory is always fun to come up with and know where they've come from. I always really love that bit about it. Like I said, I'm a bit sort of nerdy when it comes to that. And I remember doing My Fair Lady with Nikolai Foster and just loving his whole rehearsal process. And him coming up to me, I could see him come up to somebody else in the rehearsal room quite early on. It's like, tell me about your flower seller. Tell me where she's from. And I was sort of like, gosh, I'm got this backstory has got to happen. And just having to sit and think, right, I know where, you know, and just imagining what it's like in Covent Garden and how awful it was and how dirty and where she lives, and she probably lives with loads of people. It's just your imagination, research, looking, you know, that's I kind of enjoy that part of it, to be honest, because I don't think that you can, you know, you can't really tell your part of your own story unless you've got that, you know, unless you've got that in there. And with Margaret and Ray, in Everybody's Talking About Jamie, I'm lucky enough to know those kind of people, to know those strong Yorkshire women that are like my mum and my auntie and my mum's best friend, you know, all these people rolled into one. That's been amazing to tap into.
Yeah. Well, tapping into, we kind of done it back to front, but thinking about backstories your own, what inspired you to join this industry that's full of so much content?
I went to dancing school as a kid. Then I started doing some amdrams, but I didn't do anything. I wasn't like Annie. I didn't play Annie, and I wasn't like Matilda or anything. Like it didn't happen for me as a kid, as a little one. It was more as I sort of became a teenager, late teens. I went to sixth form college and did a performing arts course. I was always going to do it, and I was inspired by films, you know, those amazing films, watching my parents saying, we recorded you a film last night, it was on BBC Two at 11 o'clock at night, a chorus line, we watched that tonight. And my parents like recorded things for me, she needs to watch this. And Annie I just watched until it went fuzzy on VHS or whatever. But I didn't want to be Annie, I didn't want to be any of the kids, I wanted to be Miss Grace. I always wanted to be the older woman in the thing, and was just my playing age. You know, it took me 25 years to play the role that I've been supposed to be playing all my life. So yeah, just watching films and going to the theatre. I was lucky enough to be taken to the theatre. My parents took me to see things. My mum used to bring me to London once a year, and we'd go and see. I saw Phantom of the Opera when I was 13, and that was the last time I saw that show. But you know, you just think that show, sadly, isn't here right now, but it may be. Still going. I was 13 when I saw that show. So I was always taken to the theatre. My parents always sat me down and said, watch these brilliant shows. My dad gave me music to listen to. I don't think there was ever a time where I just thought, oh, I don't know. It was just a given. I was going to follow this path, which took me to doing like a BTEC course after school in performing arts. And then and then I joined a band and I was a singer for a bit, earning my equity card, which is what you had to do back then, keeping all the contract receipts to make sure that I could send it to equity to prove that I'd done 18 months worth of professional work to get my card. So I did that, and then my mum and dad were like, right, you need to start applying for college, because if you don't go now, I'd met a boy in Sheffield, and they were a bit like, you need to get, if you're going to do this, you're going to do this. So I started applying, and I auditioned for all the big schools, but for circumstance, LSMT was the right path for me, and that was that.
And it's proved to be an amazing choice. Thinking about connections and thinking about building momentum. Obviously, we're talking about Niara said about what would you say to your younger self when starting out. But for right now, what can people really do to get those gears going? To give them a fighting chance when going back into the industry, because the competition was fierce before. It's going to be double, triple the amount, and it's really, really difficult for everyone.
I know, and everybody, when this first started happening, is like those graduates that have worked so hard for the past 3 years. Everyone was really feeling it for the graduates, and then last week, a Twitter account, a website called Intermissions, that's run by Alice Fern. They put out, which amazing. I'm in awe of the girl. She's just got this incredible thing going. That's by the by. But they put out this really beautiful film that they put together. I don't know if you saw it, and it was from a lot of directors and choreographers. Yeah. And again, I was emotional. I'm a hot mess at the moment. Everything about theatre just makes me cry at the moment. But and it was so right. The messages were so right. They were, we will be back, and we're going to need you. You know, you look at Jamie for a show, a lot of the kids in year 11, they are graduates, and they are kids that were still at college. You know, 2 of the girls were at Conti's. It's full of young people. So a lot of the messages were, it wasn't about it's going to be tough out there. It was about we stay strong, stay, I can't remember what the message was, but just keep on keeping on, because we are going to need you when we get back up and running. And I think that's what the graduates need to keep doing. I think they need to keep themselves doing all the online classes that I know that are out there that people are doing. Keep watching stuff, all this wonderful stuff that's been put online that you can access free, or for a small fee, or for a donation to a theatre fund. Keep watching stuff, keep reading stuff, keep listening to things. And then, you know, when it comes back, you know, it will be difficult. There's no denying. There's not going to be as many jobs out there to be cast in that there was before, because we've lost momentum for what could be nearly a year. But we are still going to need those people that have been coming through and that are, you know, freshly learned, freshly taught, and have all that excitement and confidence as well. That's what I would say. And if graduates that are watching this haven't seen that video from Intermissions, go and check it out, because it's really, really, really brilliant and hopeful. And even me, you know, 25 years in the industry, is like, yeah, we will. It's a real hopeful message.
Yeah, well, everyone, we've got nearly 15 minutes left. More people coming in, out, in again. Please, you've got 15 minutes left. If you want to ask Melissa Jacques a question, please do, if you can. Melissa, as we're starting to close this Q&A, and many thanks again for spending the time here at the Collective Creative Initiative. Earlier we were talking about research, building the character. For you, do you have a particular a technique, a particular process that has worked for you in building characters?
I think always, going back to being at college, we were taught then, don't just walk into an audition room with this song that you happen to like and sits really well in your range, and maybe no one else is singing it. Always make sure you know what show it's from, who wrote it, maybe when it was first produced, or if you've seen a production of it, just have the knowledge to back up what you're performing. I'd like to sing, what have you bought for us today? Or I'd like to sing such and such. Oh, I don't know this song. Oh, well, it's from blah, blah. You know what I mean? If you can give them that college, that back note, or if you can give them that information and the knowledge that you know what you're talking about, it's going to make people behind the panel sit and thinking, okay, this person knows their stuff. That's a valid thing. So whenever I look into getting a new song or I've been sent something, like I say, I go to the writers. What else have they written? Who sung this famously? Maybe somebody listened to different people, different recordings of different people singing. Don't be influenced, but I mean, be influenced, but don't do a carbon copy. You know, make it your own. But just try and. I've got a Sondheim book downstairs called Finishing the Hat. It's like all his lyrics in a beautiful big book. And I remember auditioning for Company, which was a very, very exciting process. And I had to sing Ladies Who Lunch and one of the other songs. And I went to that book because I thought there's got to be stuff in here about, like, Let's Find Company, and just read about the process and why he wrote that and why that role happened there. So, and I remember thinking, God, I'm glad I've got this book right now to understand why she's singing this sort of soliloquy, Ladies Who Lunch, and it sort of talks you through it. I was only thinking today on my jog how very virtuous of me to be running, because it's something I never do. And I had Shuffle On, Hamilton came on, and I was just thinking, what are words? Like, still blows my mind. And I want to, when I hear a lyric or a way that he's rhymed something or he's left a beat off the end of the box, my mind goes to them sitting in together by the piano and going, right, should we do that bit there? Or why they've chose to do that. Again, I'm just a bit nerdy like that. I love to know the process of stuff. So it just interests me to sort of find out about, moral of the story is, don't walk into an audition room with just this song that you just heard once and you thought you liked it and it sounds nice. Have a little bit, know a bit more about it,
Knowing more about things, people. Earlier you talked about connections, and I think this can't be passed. I don't think in this Q&A is the manner of networking or having your voices heard, because everyone is in the same region at the moment. Everyone's kind of all on the same playing level, as it were, right now in lockdown. How can graduates, any given performer, try and have their voices be heard to the people that they really want to be working with?
Oh, I'm stumped, I think, with that. Social media is, I wish, going back to you asking me about what would I tell my younger self, I wish social media had been about when I was starting out, because you can just get yourself out there. The amount of times you just see people that are, especially in lockdown, and it's something that I'm still toying with and I haven't done, is recording myself and putting it out there. But I think, a lot of the time I see people that I know that are teaching online, and people that have been doing their class in their bedroom at home have sent it in, and that choreographer's retweeted it. So I keep seeing the same sort of people come up going, oh yeah, I've seen her before. And even I've seen these same, kids that are graduates that are doing this particular amount of choreography. I just think, just get it out there and, have a sing and make it look good and put it on your Insta. And, I think a lot of it now is about that. I've never been a huge networker myself. I don't think. I remember people, and I try and link people to, oh, I know they produced that, which they directed. I try and join the dots there. But I think at the moment, because we can't get in a room, we can't get in an audition room, just getting your stuff out there, I think, is the way forward. I'm not saying that's it. I don't, this whole, well, it depends how many followers you have. rubbish that I can't stand. And people wanting people to be the lead in their show because they've got 1 million followers. Like, I'm not down with that. But I do think that it's a way at the moment to get your stuff out there and to tag the right people in your post that you want, that you maybe want to attract them to see, you know, to see you. You maybe you'd had an audition planned and it's not happened because of lockdown. So maybe you post something and you tag the director or the casting director in that. I know all these amazing collective creative initiative that's been happening, the casting directors that have been on there. Just use the time to do as many sort of things you can do. Like, you know, I'm still learning, constantly still learning after all this time. And this week I remember sort of tweeting thinking, got quite a busy week. When we've had weeks of nothing, well, I've been homeschooling, but we've had weeks of nothing. This week I had I did a home recording workshop online to try and figure out how to use all this equipment that now we're probably going to have to do because we're working remotely. And I have my singing lesson, which I've booked in for 6 weeks. And then this today. And then in August, I've got 2 sessions where I'm doing a music theory course, because I realized I had to find out the key of something recently and my music theory is not what it was. So I put myself into something like that. There's so much out there for people to be tapping into. And anybody that's taking these workshops and they remember people, you know, you might catch someone's eye and they'll remember you and log you. And then when we get back in the room, they go, oh, I remember. Do you remember in lockdown and this person put this online and we saw it and we really liked it? You know, I think that's the way that it's going to happen at the moment.
And being curious and putting yourself out there. Another question from Niara is what comes to mind as your favourite theatrical experience ever?
Ooh, performing or watching? I wonder. I guess performing. Both, yeah. Performing. Oh gosh, there's been a lot of moments. Oh, I was in Mamma Mia way back at the beginning, and I then went back to the show. Somebody left, so I went back to a company hadn't been in with this company, but I went in not as a stranger. I sort of knew people, but people didn't really know me. And I went back and I was second cover Donna. I was only about 26 at the time, I think. I was second cover Donna. I'd been in the building since Monday. I was on as a swing on the Tuesday. Back in the day, then they'd be back to back on a Friday. And on the Friday morning, there was a rumble on Thursday night that the girl who was the alternate wasn't feeling quite great. And the Friday morning, the company manager called me, and when I answered the phone, he was just giggling because, like, believe it or not, you're on. And it was the first time I'd ever done Donna, ever, after being in the show for 2 years, because I was 26. I wasn't a mum of a 21-year-old. But I wasn't in the program yet because I'd only just joined this company. So they slip a program and they put your picture and stuff. And they slipped the house, if you like. And it was at the Prince Edward's, big old theatre. And I remember I've got a photograph of me at warm-up, literally with a piece of paper on every single seat in the house, just the whole house papered with this slip, because I was on for Donna for the very first time. I've been in the building for 4 days. So that was a very, very special day for me. Taking over the role of Margaret has been the biggest thing of my career yet, and still means the absolute world to me. There's not a night goes by where I don't just think, wow, look at where I am right now, singing these incredible songs, telling this beautiful story, this necessary story. Yeah, those are 2 amazing memories of performing anyway.
And Melissa, just to round it off, just a key piece of advice that you hold very dear to your heart that might touch someone and someone might be able to relate with as we close the session. I'm on the spot now. I know that after this it'll come to me and I'll think, oh gosh, I remember that person. I think as far as performing is concerned, you
you have to tell the truth. You have to bring so much of yourself. It's not really playing a character, but really just tell the truth through what you've been given to sing or to speak. And it'll come to me after that. I know that there's some nugget of lovely knowledge, and also just believe in yourself and just know that at that moment, at that time, you are doing your very best, and that you are meant to be in that moment right there, right now. But also, you know, starting out just as a person in this industry, turn up on time, be kind, be aware of everyone around you, just be, you know, just enjoy being part of a company, and just being a professional and respecting the profession, I think, is something that I've always carried with me, that maybe people might say about me that, you know, I'm sort of reliable, but also kindness as well in you know, these days, and respect. Yeah, I think so. Something really profound will come to me when I'm cooking the dinner in a bit. But for now, I think that's what I could tell people, especially people that are coming into this industry, and just keep on keeping on and believe, and don't stop learning. Just keep reading and watching, and yeah.
Well, this has been so lovely. Thank you so much, and hope to see you again here at the Collective Creative Initiative.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been great. Thank you
so much. Look after yourself, all right? Take care.
Yes, you too. Bye-bye.
Oh my goodness, that was the lovely Melissa Jacques, everyone. Right, that is all we've got for today. But please, thank you to Melissa again, Albie Brooks, Jamie Reed, Sarah Esdale, and Joe and Will Hope Mill Theatre for an amazing day of opportunity. We'll be back tomorrow, same time as always, with a killer dance for film class with Paul Di Stefano, 10 till 11 a.m. Remember to subscribe, share, and let everyone know of what you're up to with the CCI. Be seen by industry, work with industry, lead this industry. I'm Bailey Harris Kelly. This has been the Collective Creative. Oh my goodness, it's nearly night. You can tell it's the Collective Creative Initiative. Thank you and good night.